In 2026, something unusual is happening across three of the world's biggest retirement systems. Singapore's CPF is sitting on one of the strongest reserve-backed retirement funds in the world. Canada's CPP just announced it's sustainable for at least 75 years. And the United States Social Security Program? It's staring down a funding cliff as early as 2033. 3 countries, 3 retirement systems, 3 totally different futures. So here's the big question. Why are some retirement funds overflowing, while others are quietly running out of money? Why retirement funds are under pressure in 2026? Before comparing Singapore, Canada, and the US, we need to zoom out because every retirement system on Earth is being hit by the same global storm. And in 2026, that storm is finally catching up. Across all 3 countries, the math that once made retirement systems work no longer works. Populations are aging faster than expected. People are living 5, 10, sometimes 20 years longer than previous generations, meaning governments must pay benefits far longer than these systems were designed for. Birth rates are falling. Fewer young workers are paying in, while more retirees draw out. Fewer contributors, more beneficiaries, a shrinking tax base, growing obligations. This is the formula that breaks retirement systems. Then comes rising healthcare costs. Medical inflation outpaces everything else. U.S. Medicare premiums may rise 30% in 2026, almost 4 times the COLA increase. Canada's provincial healthcare spending is climbing fast. Singapore's MediShield life premiums keep rising, squeezing retirees even as CPF balances grow. With all these pressures hitting at once, governments are pulling every lever to keep retirement systems alive. Higher contribution caps, rising wage ceilings, increased premiums, shifting retirement ages, expanded taxable income limits. And 2026 is a perfect snapshot. United States, 2%. COLA increase, but the taxable earnings cap jumps from $176,200 to $184,500. A subtle 4.8% increase in how much workers must pay. Canada, CPP contribution rates rise again. More money in today to support expanded benefits later. The government calls it an adjustment. Economists call it stress management. Singapore, the CPF monthly wage ceiling increases, and the full retirement sum rises again. More income locked into long-term savings. Different moves, same goal. Slow the bleeding, buy time, stabilize the system. These changes look small, but they reveal exactly which systems are stable and which ones are quietly panicking. System breakdown. Singapore, CPF, a fully funded vault. Singapore's retirement system works less like a government promise and more like a personal investment account. Every dollar you receive later is money you already contributed, plus decades of returns. How it works. Mandatory monthly contributions from employers and employees. Funds are invested by GIC and MAS. The same teams managing Singapore's sovereign wealth, guaranteed 2.5% to 4% returns, beating US and Canadian equivalents. In 2026, the CPF wage ceiling increases, bringing in more contributions. CPF Life turns savings into lifetime payouts. Why it's stable. CPF doesn't rely on future taxpayers. There is no trust fund that can run out. It only pays what's already funded. No deficits, no politics, no crisis countdown. CPF doesn't promise the future. It funds it up front. Canada, CPP. A hybrid system that saved itself. CPP isn't as aggressive as Singapore's model, but it's far more stable than US Social Security because Canada fixed the cracks before they became a collapse. How it works. Workers and employers contribute monthly. CPP is hybrid, partly pay-as-you-go, partly investment fund. Managed by the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, a top global performer. Between 2026, contributions rise slightly to strengthen the fund. Immigration growth expands the contributor base. Actuaries say CPP is sustainable for 75 years. Why it's stable. In 1997, Canada raised contributions early and created political consensus to protect the fund. The exact reform the US avoided. CPP works today because Canada took the pain 30 years ago. United States, Social Security, the trouble system. America's system is the opposite of Singapore's. It depends on today's workers paying today's retirees. And in 2026, that math is breaking. 2026 snapshot, 71 million rely on Social Security, COLA, plus 2.8%. But Medicare premiums, plus 11%, canceling gains. Trust fund depletion projected 2033-2035. After that, only 77%, 81% of benefits can be paid. Fewer workers paying in, more retirees taking out. Politicians avoid raising payroll taxes, but the taxable earnings cap jumps to 180,400, a hidden tax increase. The problem? Retirees get plus 2.8%, but workers get plus 4.8% in invisible tax hikes. Why it's struggling? Social Security depends entirely on a large young population. In 2026, the U.S. has lower birth rates, slower workforce growth, and longer lifespans, a combination the original system was never built for. America isn't in crisis because Social Security failed, but because the country it was designed for no longer exists. Who's winning in 2026? After breaking down how each system works, here's the surprising truth. All three countries face the same demographic storm, but only one system is built to survive it without major political pain. Let's compare them head to head. Singapore, the most stable, most predictable system. Singapore's CPF is fully funded, investment-backed, and designed to grow faster than inflation. It doesn't rely on future taxpayers or political negotiations. Strengths. Money is already funded, no deficits. Guaranteed returns of 2.5%, 4%. Wage ceilings rising in 2026 pump more money into the system. CPF Life handles longevity risk automatically. Limited political interference. Weaknesses. Requires high personal savings. Cash flow feels restrictive for younger workers. Verdict. Singapore wins on stability, transparency, and math. If every country adopted CPF's model, retirement crises would disappear almost overnight. Canada, a surprisingly resilient middle ground. Canada sits between Singapore and the US. Not fully funded, but not collapsing either. Strengths. Investment fund, CPPIB, consistently outperforms global benchmarks. 1997 reforms removed most long-term risk. Immigration provides a steady stream of contributors. Actuaries confirm sustainability for 75 years. Weaknesses. Still partially dependent on current workers. Contribution rates have to keep rising. Slower economic growth could pressure the system. Verdict. Canada did the hard work early and it shows. CPP is stable, not perfect. Not crisis-proof, but steady enough to survive the next few decades. United States, strong brand, weak math. America's Social Security is emotionally untouchable, but financially fragile. Strengths. Universally supported by voters. Massive scale and reliable payout mechanism. Even at depletion, still pays ours 80% of benefits. Weaknesses. Pure pay-as-you-go model. Too few workers, too many retirees. Politicians refuse to raise payroll taxes. Healthcare costs rising far faster than COLA. 2026 stealth tax increase exposes funding gaps. Verdict. The system isn't dying, but it's shrinking. Without structural reforms, Social Security will become a smaller benefit over time. The big reveal, 3 systems, 3 futures. Here's the simplest way to understand 2026. Singapore is calm. The money is already there. Canada is cautious. The system is stable but must keep adjusting. The US is stressed. The math no longer supports the promises. And here's the twist. The strongest system isn't the one with the highest payouts. It's the one that never needs a bailout. How 2026 changes impact real people. 2026 isn't just policy tweaks. It's the year people finally feel what their retirement systems mean in daily life. To Singapore, higher security, lower cash flow. The 2026 CPF wage ceiling increase locks more income into long-term savings. A 30-year-old above the old ceiling contributes noticeably more each month. Take-home pay dips, but retirement security strengthens. Future retirees see higher CPF Life payouts, especially middle-income earners. Medical costs rise, yet MediSave grows to cushion the impact. Impact in one line. Less flexibility today, but one of the world's strongest retirement nets later. Canada, slow, steady, predictable. Most Canadians barely feel the 2026 CPP increase, just a few extra dollars per paycheck. But this small change ensures today's 25-year-old retires with a system that stays intact. Strong immigration adds contributors quickly, reinforcing long-term stability. Impact in one line. Small sacrifice now, long-term stability later. United States, the squeeze becomes real. For Americans, 2026 brings pressure from both sides. Benefits rise 2.8%, but Medicare premiums jump 11%, wiping out most gains. A retiree collecting $1,800 might keep only $2,025 more. Workers feel a hidden tax hike. The taxable earnings ceiling climbs to $180,500, so high earners quietly pay more. Younger Americans see headlines about 2033-35 depletion and wonder if Social Security will still exist for them. Impact in one line. Retirees lose ground. Workers pay more. Anxiety grows. So why do Singapore and Canada stay stable with small adjustments, while the US keeps scrambling? The core reason why Singapore and Canada are stable, while the US struggles. Retirement systems rarely collapse because of bad management. They collapse when the math no longer matches the country they were built for. Singapore. Built for a low birth, long lifespan world. Singapore designed CPF for an aging society with rising medical costs. It built a fully funded system that doesn't rely on future taxpayers or shifting politics. Philosophy. Save now, fund your own future, keep politics out. Canada. Built on early pain and long-term consensus. In 1997, Canada confronted demographic reality early. It raised contributions, built a strong investment fund, and locked reforms behind cross-party agreement. Philosophy. Pay slightly more today to prevent collapse tomorrow. United States, a system frozen in time. Social Security was designed in the 1930s for a different America: high birth rates, shorter lifespans, cheap health care, and a booming workforce. None of that is true in 2026. Yet major reforms haven't happened in decades. Politicians avoid raising retirement age, tax ceilings, or adjusting benefits. Philosophy. Promise now, fix later, but later never comes. Singapore built for the future. Canada corrected in time. The US is running a system designed for a country that no longer exists. 2026. The world's retirement systems don't just reveal numbers. They reveal philosophies. The invisible frameworks countries choose to bet their futures on. Singapore bets on discipline. Canada bets on early correction. The United States bets on hope. And the consequences of those choices finally collide this year. Because if there's one truth across all three countries, it's this. Retirement isn't about age, it's about design. It's about whether the system you depend on was built for the world you actually live in, or a world that disappeared decades ago. Singapore's system feels strict today. Ceilings rising, more money locked away, less cash in hand. But it produces something rare, certainty. 30-year-old there can zoom out and see a future that is mathematically sound. Not perfect, not painless, but predictable. Canada's approach is quiet, almost boring. Tiny contribution increases, small annual tweaks, steady immigration. But sometimes the smartest systems are the ones that don't need to go viral. The ones that just quietly work. And then there's the US, the country that built the world's most ambitious retirement promise, but tied it to assumptions about birth rates, lifespans, and healthcare costs that no longer exist. The result is a system people love but fear at the same time. A system frozen in political time. Here's the big reveal. Retirement systems don't fail loudly. They fail slowly. They fail with one-year COLAs that disappear into healthcare hikes. They fail when workers pay more but don't feel more secure. They fail when people start asking whether the future will look anything like the past. And that's why 2026 matters so much. Not because of the wage ceilings, contribution changes, or tax adjustments, but because this is the year millions of people finally notice what's happening underneath the surface. The countries that planned ahead are steady. The ones that waited are scrambling. And the ones that delay, they're hoping math will bend itself to political comfort. But math doesn't care about politics. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't wait for consensus. It just follows the population curve, quietly, relentlessly. And in the story of retirement systems, that curve determines everything. In the end, Singapore and Canada didn't outsmart anyone. They simply built for the world they were moving into. The United States built for a world it left behind. And 2026 is the year that difference finally becomes impossible to ignore.